Another round of help is revealed for mortgage forbearance people that are suffering during this pandemic on top of an eviction moratorium. But is it enough for relief, or is it a little too late? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE, and this is LALATE Afternoons. Hope you're good and safe. This is our 2-hour programming block. Every day at 3:30, it starts with a check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent. Part of our 3.5-hour schedule every day here on LALATE. And if this was a day to like and subscribe to this channel and video, this was certainly the one to hit those bells. Let me give you these incredible details revealed minutes ago in a new report that talks about new relief that can be provided to people who are having problems as landlords on top of people who have problems as tenants. As I've been detailing for over, a week, I guess you'd say now, almost 2 weeks, there is an eviction moratorium in place. I was the one that was calling for it. I was explaining to you how we need it so quickly, and then it finally came in. It's issued by the CDC. That's CDC. It's an eviction moratorium that requires you to do a lot of things, and I've gone over that with you. There's a link in the description of this video that gives you a link to the place on CDC where you can learn more information about how to apply, how to ensure that you do the stuff. The most important thing to understand for that eviction moratorium is the following. You have to do something. You can't just sit back and say, I'm fine. I'll just, when it hits my account, I'll worry about it. I'm having my donut. No, you literally have to do work. It's not a lot of work. I mean, it's, not as much work as Nancy Pelosi does, but you have to do some work. And to do that work, you go to the link in this description of this video, sends you to the page. It talks about declaration, looking for grants in your area. You have to do this, and you have to follow the instructions, and you have to do it right away. CDC and the articles I detailed for you yesterday and the analysis reports all say you have to do this right away. You need to give it to your landlord ASAP. Don't sit around for this type of stuff. And if you have never heard of this before and you learn it from this video, need to tell other people about this video and how important this is, because people just assume you don't have to do anything, and that's the wrong assumption. Now, the other issue that's really coming up is where's the protection for mortgages? Because the executive order that we're all talking about here that created the eviction moratorium 3 weeks ago in a bad phrasing, sort of tried to, but then didn't. Where was the mortgage forbearance part of this? Well, the mortgage forbearance part of the executive order is in there. It says you're supposed to have a mortgage forbearance. It just didn't create one. Well, where is it? The Federal Housing Finance Agency has now actually stepped up and said, okay, we're going to help you. And so has SBA. Yes, Shafina Carranza. You got to ensure that there's enough scarves in the house. So those agencies have now stepped up to help landlords on these issues about mortgages. And landlords includes, if you own your own home, you can't make the mortgage, or you own your own apartment building, you can't make the mortgage on that. The Federal Housing Agency has offered mortgage forbearance to property owners on condition they don't evict tenants unable to pay rent. This is a new CNBC report. And that forbearance must continue through the end of the year or millions of Americans will be in crisis mode. That's the first thing. But there's more good news. In the past few months, landlords could apply for a line of credit from their bank or for a Small Business Administration SBA disaster loan. That helped forestall catastrophe, but all that begs the questions, what happens when the loans have to be repaid? I can actually answer that question because I've done a few EIDL loan videos, just a few. The good things about an EIDL loan the good thing about EIDL loans is that, one, they do cover property. 2, they do cover property income. 3, they don't have a principal or interest repayment for the first 12 months. So whereas this article sort of suggesting that your mortgage is going to be, that your loan would be due during the pandemic, it's just not the case. But how do you do an SBA loan if you're a property owner of a house? not particularly clear. I don't see the likelihood of that. Let me explain what this article seems to be confusing things with. If you are a property owner that makes income and you're not getting that income because the tenants aren't paying the rent, yeah, you can go for an SBA loan right away, absolutely. And their application actually talks about loss of rental income, absolutely. And what needs to be more clarified, because this article is a little bit screwy all over the place, is that you can get an SBA loan if you are a apartment building owner or a commercial building owner. SBA doesn't really care. Now, this article is talking about mortgage forbearance for residential buildings. That's a little confusing because that is only apartment buildings. Needless to say, apartment buildings and commercial buildings can go get SBA loans. But the issue is whether Federal Housing Agency creates an offering if you can't pay rent. Again, the way the article is written, it doesn't suggest that it provides that relief in the case of homeowners that can't make their mortgage. All this is deeply confusing and deeply problematic, and no one seems to have really clear answers, and that's why I'm worried for you. So if you, for example, are a tenant and you're watching this video and you are a renter in an apartment or renter in a house, what should you do? First step is you go to the description of this video. Well, I mean, after you like and subscribe to the channel, but you go to the description of this video and you click on the link that sends you to the CDC website. That's the first thing you do. You read it. Second thing you do, you download and print out the pages you're supposed to do, which calls for you to do a declaration, calls for you to present documentation to your landlord, calls for you to determine your eligibility, calls for you to determine certain things, calls for you to check and see whether there's grants in your area. If you don't do any of that, you're not going to get eviction protection. You simply are not. And the thing I just don't like about the situation is that even I, who simply can grasp things a little bit more complicated than other people may, I even feel that the CDC order is confusing. It's just a lot of stuff. It's okay. You gotta do a declaration. You gotta give it to the landlord. Then you gotta determine whether you had a stimulus check before. Well, if you didn't have a stimulus check before, then you have medication prices that went up. Well, if you didn't have medication prices that went up, that if you're evicted, you're gonna be homeless. Then you gotta go look for grants, but you don't have to get the grants. You just have to go look for them, and that. It's just, okay, it's not like 10 seconds of work. It's not 10 hours of work. But are people going to know how to do this? Are people going to know that they have to do this? That's the bigger question. And my answer is no. I just don't see people knowing they're supposed to do this. I just see people thinking, there's an eviction moratorium. I don't have to do anything. I'm fine. You can't evict me. Then the bigger concern, as I've detailed on this channel every single day for the last 3 weeks, and I'll probably continue to detail it, as Harris, the VP nominee to Joe Biden, saw this as an enormous problem as a lawyer. She said landlords are going to violate laws. They have done it before and they'll continue to do it. What I've explained to you over and over again is that you may have an eviction protection, but landlords may still violate the law. And there's some legal help agencies out there that are free that you can contact if you know what the rule was for CDC. You watch the video and you say, hey, the landlord's violating the law. What do I do? You need to call someone right away. But as we turn to mortgages and property owners, what is one to say? Well, Federal Home Housing Agency has a mortgage forbearance program. Guess you got to go look at that one and pull that one open. Then you have to consider whether or not you want an SBA small business disaster loan. I just don't see you being able to get one if you're a homeowner and can't make your own home mortgage. That's not a business. SBA disaster loans are for businesses. Now, there are other SBA disaster loans. Maybe the article is referring to other disaster loans that don't have to do with EIDL that I simply just have passed up. As the article says, so we can agree that moratorium on evictions is good and necessary, but the federal government has only dealt with one side of the problem, and it's a grave mistake. Once this coronavirus is over, Washington has to pass the buck to states with scant resources to throw millions to ward off a looming disaster. We urge state and federal lawmakers to think about the economic problems that it's created and work together to come up with a solid plan. They haven't really thought about anything. If you're here in Los Angeles and you drive down the street and you go to Venice Beach, which is a very popular tourist distraction, it's a beach. That's why it's called Venice Beach. And you go to Venice Beach, which has always been sort of, a little bit alternative and a little bit, um, sort of mishmash of everything. There's homeless embankments everywhere. Homeless embankments everywhere on the beach now. If you're approaching the area near the beach, several blocks away, homeless embankments all over the commercial areas. There's homeless embankments all over LA County now. And what are they doing? Nothing. Are they giving them are they giving these people money so that they're not homeless? No. Uh, and as viewers of this channel have been detailing, I've been detailing it almost every single day, viewers of this channel became homeless about 4 to 5 weeks ago because stimulus packages were not passed. And more viewers on a daily basis comment about how homelessness is really looming for them if they don't see a stimulus package passed. And as we sit here today, we see executive orders perhaps happening, but legislative things happening? Don't see it happening as we sit here today. Of course, anything could change tomorrow, or it could change in 2 hours from now. So why have federal government not taken a hand to really deal with rampant homelessness? Here's the problem. The problem is that when you sit back and you are in Washington and you look at the economy and all you look at are unemployment numbers and employment numbers and Wall Street and Tesla stock split or 5-1 stock split and Apple shares going up, you're looking at things in a bubble. You really are, because the bubble is ignoring one major part of the economy, and that's real estate. Everything about real estate involves the tenant, the landlord, and everything else. So if you have 40 million Americans facing eviction across the country nationally, the worst number since the Great Depression, and they're really still facing it because maybe you did an eviction moratorium, but that eviction moratorium is under the CDC, expires on December 31st. Okay, what are you doing on January 1st? There's no plan. You have all those people becoming homeless. You have 45% of California's labor workforce unemployed. People can't just stay unemployed forever because ultimately they become homeless. Then you have people becoming homeless and COVID-19 cases rise and the economy and the health and human services of the counties and states become jeopardized because people will become very, very sick in these encampments. Finally, you have everything that holds up the real estate market. Rental income, gone. Mortgages paid, gone. Principal on mortgages paid, gone. Properties will fall into default. People will lose their properties. People will lose their homes. Banks will take up properties. Banks will go in default because banks can't take up properties to pay their bills. Banks need mortgage payments paid. They can't be taking up properties. Everything slowly implodes. As Marco Rubio said, you can't play around with the real estate market because the real estate market will play back with you and everything will get very bad very quickly. The question is, why has no sense of urgency bestowed itself upon Congress to realize this needs to be done now? Ultimately, I really don't know. You could say it's a bubble effect, that these congressmen are living in nice little homes in Bethesda, Maryland, or Chevy Chase, and they don't go out and they don't see that there are homeless embankments forming all across cities. They don't see the rampant rise of homeless cases all around their cities. They don't drive down a street that maybe had one homeless set up in a block a month ago and now has 400, which is a common occurrence in every single city. To realize that there's something happening and they're not dealing with it. And by the time they deal with it, it's going to be worse to catch up than dealing with it now. A lot of things to consider, and if there's ever a day to like and subscribe to this channel, it's now. Go to the front of this channel, hit the subscribe and the alert. When you subscribe to this channel, you'll see that you're a public subscriber, and there's a little red next to your name. If you haven't seen that, and some of you have not, go into the pinned comment to this video. It'll show you how to ensure that you're publicly subscribed, because I respond to subscribers more than subscribers. It'll show you a link. It's basically talking about unsubscribing and resubscribing. And then hit that alert so you get an alert when a new video goes live. Next, like the video because it helps the algorithm for this video to appear higher in the algorithm when people like it. And you've been doing a great job. We've been killing it over the last 24 hours. So keep it up. Coming up next is Evenings LA, which I will examine more about really what's going on with this Trump executive order for second stimulus checks, the potential of an Trump executive order for LWA 2.0, and everything else that you should think about going into tomorrow when the Senate is reportedly set to vote on the bill introduced yesterday. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay focused, stay positive. Don't sweat the small stuff. I'm here with you. You're here with me. And coming up next is Evenings LA. As always, stay with LA for more.